Hello! Today we're looking at a tiny little thing from ViFly. What is it? Essentially it's a camera switcher. Do you remember the stuff, and Josh Bardwell did a bunch of videos, and it's called the Cheetah Quad. The idea you have both a frontward and rear facing camera, and then if you put the GoPro filming forwards you can switch your camera to backwards, you can fly some amazing stuff, and it looks from the GoPro like you're doing amazing things. Now he used a very specific flight controller called the Luminaire Lux Pro F7, which had built-in camera switching. Now if you didn't have that, what are your options? That's where this comes in. And just taking out the bag, you have some instructions, you have some wire, you have some heat shrink, and you have the tiny little board itself. So let's go to close-up land to talk about how we're going to do this. Now I should also point out that I don't have the right quad to do this. You really need some sort of symmetrical quad where you can put all your gear in the middle so you can put your cameras at both ends. I don't have it. So I'm going to be doing it on the bench and explaining how to do it. And then if you're interested in using it, you can do it on yours. Okay, well welcome to Close-Up Land. So just to go through some of the bits in the package again, must say that the instructions here are pretty damn good actually. Very clear, very obvious what to do. Although I tell you that without me actually doing it. Hopefully they'll be good, they look very good. You've got 4 pieces of little silicone wire. That is the piece of heat shrink. And this is the actual gubbins itself. So let's see if we can get a little bit closer so I can show you what's going on there. Okay, the camera's just about focused. What you've got here in this first part is where you connect to your video in. So you've got the ground, you've got the VCC in, and you've got the video. Now you can actually connect this to S-Bus, DSMX, iBus, or PWM. And to do this, you've got a combination of soldering across those 3 pads. Default is S-Bus, and you've got the S-Bus pin to connect the signal there. This is for everything else. And then here, which is labelled C2 and C1, you've got the actual camera inputs. So video signal here, voltage here, and ground. The voltage will be whatever gets passed in from the voltage in. Normally this is going to be from your flight controller. So generally speaking, people are using 5 volts, but you might use VCC from your main battery, depending on what comes through. This can handle it, and on the other side, there's nothing much there. There's just some circuits. This little guy is what I shall be using to demonstrate the fact. Now, as you can probably see, I can't fit a rear camera here, but I can at least show you what's going on. It's quite handy actually, because the way the board is connected, the VTX, it's on some little push-through pins, so I can easily take that off and reveal where the camera stuff is. So you can see here we've got a little RunCam micro swift, and this connects in here. You see we've got the signal, power and ground there. So basically the signal, power and ground will go on to these bits. The camera will then go on to camera 1 here, and I've got this micro sparrow, which is almost the same sort of camera, to go on to camera 2 there. So we can hook that all in and see if the camera switches. Now if you're going to use S-Bus, DSMX or iBus, this is going to be on channel 7. Obviously if you're using PWM, it's whatever PWM channel you've made for it. So it's pretty easy just to avoid aux, what's it going to be, aux 3, I think. Yeah, that's channel 7 on Betaflight to move around that, and then you can use that for doing the rear camera switch. Okay, well it's sometime later, and we've done our bit of soldering work, and what I've done here, I've put the heat shrink on, but I haven't done it up because this is really just a test build. And you can see that I've got the ground, voltage and video going back in here to the original camera going in. This blue one here is connected to S-Bus, and what I'm doing, I'm just piggybacking on the S-Bus signal that's already going into there, and I've just soldered a wire on top. And then we've got the 2 cameras, each with their video signal, positive and ground. So let me stick the VTX on and we'll turn it on and show you how it works. So as far as Betaflight setup goes, there wasn't any. I just had to avoid channel 7, and on channel 7 basically I've just created a mix and assigned it to a switch. Obviously a 2-position switch is best, but you can set it up so, you know, up will be one way and any of the other positions could be the other, for example. We've got Pickle Rick in the front, Mr. Poopy Butthole aside, and we've got our little preview screen here, which is always handy. Okay then, pickle Rick in the front, Mr. Poopy Butthead in the side there. Now I'd like to show you the actual switch, but as soon as I get close, the receiver goes off. So, oh no, it's working now. There you go. There's my thumb doing a changeover. You notice you've got a tiny little delay in the change. It's not too much. Don't do it in a situation where you're literally on a split-second thing, which seems unlikely. But yeah, the general principle is very good. Just change over. Front, back, and of course you keep your SD, everything else. So just a few little points to make about that camera switcher, and obviously don't try and put it on a 95mm quad or do it tidily. This is obviously just a test setup to show you how it looks on the bench. Use a proper frame. But that's not the point. The main point to do, if you do the cheetah quad idea, as soon as you're facing backwards, obviously your controls reverse, and you need to do some changes in the mixing so it'll feel like you're always flying forwards. Now, Josh Bardwell already went through this, and I didn't want to regurgitate everything he said, and I try and make it a point that you don't learn something in my videos, so go and watch his one if you want to know how to do that. Another thing I noticed is at the moment I'm just testing this module. This is the Furious FPV Trudy X, and I had the OSD for the RSI for the two antennas on the screen, and that seemed to have a slight time delay where it would sync over the top of the existing video. So I went back and I turned off that RSSI overlay, and this is what the switching looks like there, which is a lot better. I figure you've got like a little half-second blip where something happens, but I would say if you're in the middle of a maneuver, generally when you're transitioning between forward and backwards cameras, you're not right in the middle of something dangerous, so I think you've got time to do it. That's kind of like, I can imagine you'd go up, you'd sort of hang there, you'd come back down, you'd switch to your reverse camera, and like, look, I'm amazingly flying backwards through something. Another point is, yeah, I mean, this is for a cheetah quad, but it doesn't have to be. Now, camera switches aren't a new thing. I think Hobby King used to do this free camera one that was about this big, but they'd always use like PWM in the past. So you ended up with like a large receiver with loads of PWM outputs, all connecting around, and it's generally for like a big plane with lots of cameras. These days you can run iNav on like a very small board and have like a little wing out there just running off something tiny like this XM Plus, just using S-Bus. And if you had that, there's absolutely no reason to use one of these little camera switches on channel 7, so you can have perhaps a rear camera or a camera out on the wing facing inwards. You can get some really interesting views that way. So cheetah quad is one thing it's used for, but not the only thing. There's I think there's good possibilities to use all sorts of things. And of course you don't have to use S-Bus, you can use DSMX and iBus as well, which will all do channel 7 switching. So yeah, it's an interesting little device. It'd be interesting to see what it can be used for and what you guys can use it for. So this has been the ViFly Cam Switcher, and it was provided for review by ViFly, so thanks very much to them. And of course there'll be links down below letting you know where you can get this if you want to pick one up yourself. Well, I hope that's been useful, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.
Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.